You ready? Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, March 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please. Clerk Moscow.
Trustee Burbett?
Here.
Trustee Cavey?
Here.
Trustee Crawley?
Here.
Trustee Hilly?
Here.
Trustee Johnson? Trustee Killily?
Here.
Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Jean?
Of course. Sorry. The beautification committee meeting will be tomorrow at 7:15 here at the chambers. Today we did our luncheon for Public Works, and I guess they must have liked it because I had heard no complaints. That's it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? No further public comment. I will close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. Trustee Burback.
Oh, sure, start with. Everybody should have received an email, or it's in the board packet, regarding the purchase of the fire truck. We had planned to purchase a fire truck. The actual purchase wouldn't take place until about 23 to 25 months from now. The EPA made some changes to the specifications for, or made some, can't even think of the right word for it, but they have to change the specifications for the motors for the fire trucks to be EPA compliant. Because of that, the cost of the trucks is going to go up considerably. We already were working on purchasing a truck, so we already have a agreement that is still valid for a short period of time, and if we act on that agreement, we'll still be able to get the truck for $799,500. If we do not sign the agreement, the trucks are going to go up to $820,000 very shortly, and within the span of the next 23 to 25 months, which is when we would actually do the purchase, they will be somewhere most likely in the area of $1.3 to $1.5 million, and that is because when they make the changes, they have to stop production of the motors that they're currently building, but they already have so many motors that are produced, so they can still sell those motors. They're grandfathered in. They can still sell those motors even though they won't be EPA compliant. So if we act on this, we're locked in once the manufacturer gets this agreement. So we want to do this actually as fast as we can, because otherwise we're going to pay way more money for the truck. So we're looking to make that purchase right away.
This is replacing.
Make that agreement right away.
This is replacing the 25-plus-year-old engine that by ISO rating standards is not even allowable to be put in as a backup.
That is correct, and that also has a pumper on it that is from an even older truck. So this is all really outdated equipment that's not even going to be usable. So not much choice as far as making the purchase unless we're going to stop having a fire department.
And the other fire engine is still, will be paid off by the time.
It should be paid off right about the same time that we do the actual purchase.
So the vehicle replacement fund for the fire department that we save for, we'll be paying for it, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Consent agenda for approval next week?
Nobody has any questions beyond that?
I just have one question, and this is just a curiosity question. If we have a truck that's got an engine that's no longer, well, it's not compliant, do we have the option of buying a different engine to put in that truck? I mean, different motor? Can we buy an upgraded motor to put in that truck or no?
I'm not sure that you're relating the right aspect of this. It's not the motor that's in the truck that we have. The engine that we were gonna,
I realize you're talking about the brand-new truck.
Right.
We're required to buy a brand-new truck that has an EPA updated motor.
no,
this is-
not at the moment. If we place this order, we're not required to buy one that's going to be EPA compliant.
No.
If-
It'll be EPA compliant
It's
as of right
currently
now.
EPA.
As of,
compliant.
under the current EPA rules. Got it.
But the caveat is, if that agreement doesn't get to the manufacturer and recognized by the manufacturer
At a certain
before
date.
that changes,
Yeah.
we still will be responsible for the extra
No,
expense.
I get it, and I have no problem or no
So
issue with it.
even if we do process this right away, we could still wind up having to pay more, but this is our best shot at paying
Okay.
less.
And I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
it's probably.
It was, like I
Yeah, I
said, it was
just
just
misunderstood
a
your
curiosity question. No big deal. It's okay. I'm fine with what you explained on what our requirements are for the new truck.
Okay,
All right,
so
cool.
if we could put it on the consent.
Consent agenda for approval. Anything else tonight, trustee Burbank?
No, sir.
Yes, you do.
No.
Tornado siren?
Oh,
Tornado siren?
The what?
Tornado
there
siren.
is a item for approval. It's a renewal, basically for the maintenance for the tornado sirens.
I'll make the motion.
You all should have the document,
Oh,
but
sorry, that was ready.
sorry, I'm looking for that.
Give some dollar amounts or something, make it
Yeah.
more.
I think it was like 1,300, right?
1320. Excuse me, 1320.
Yeah, I was so focused on the fire engine, I forgot all about that. But, yeah, 1320?
Mhm.
Okay.
With Braniff Communications. Are you making a motion to approve? Is it on approval tonight?
Says action.
I'm still hoping I could find it here.
Oh, no, it says discussion, doesn't say approval.
It's in the content tab.
You got it for action?
Oh, you do? Oh, mine says-
Okay, why did this close?
So we can do it for approval?
Mhm.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the annual preventive maintenance agreement for $1,320 for the tornado sirens.
Approval.
You're making the motion.
Oh, mine says
You're
discussion.
making the motion, I'll second it.
All right.
Any discussion? Just to be clear, this is an annual contract with Braniff Communications in the amount of $1,320 for the maintenance on our tornado sirens. Roll call, please. Quick ones.
Trustee Burback.
Aye.
Trustee Cagney.
Aye.
Trustee Crowley.
Aye.
Trustee Hilly.
Aye.
Trustee Killily.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Anything else tonight?
No.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Hilly.
I had a couple items, First is the lease purchase agreement for the new sewer jet.
Switch
It's going to be, it's a lease purchase agreement through tax exempt leasing corp. If everyone looks, it's under, it says Vector is the document number, Vector 5AAD is the actual numbers for financing of the Vector Ramjet sewer cleaner on a 2023 Freightliner M2 chassis. We're getting $30,000 on the trade-in for the previous sewer jet, which I believe is not operational. The total finance amount would be $269,939 with a, looks like an annual payment of $60,228.79, if I understand the document correctly. If you also look, there's two documents there. The other is from Standard Equipment outlining the parameters and the equipment description. Anybody have any questions on this?
Just some background, if everyone remembers, our former vacuum truck caught fire this summer.
Yes, it did.
vacuuming up leaves, so this was made necessary due to that incident. Of course, we look into insurance as well, so
And the rental truck didn't do so well either.
it was not
No,
even close.
that was not even close, and the cost started to skyrocket on that. That also includes a 5-year warranty. If you look at the end of the last page of the standard proposal, there's a 5-year warranty involved with that also, which obviously if there's any issue with the equipment, that $13,889 is a drop in the bucket for a 5-year warranty.
My only question is, are we looking to buy this outright or to finance it over 5 years?
Okay, the first sheet, hold on, let me go back. The first document says Vactor Lease Purchase Agreement.
Uh-huh.
Everything's explained in that. It's a lease purchase, so the payment is made and it goes towards principal and interest. At the end of the 5-year term, we own the equipment.
Okay.
But according to the document, it is a choice between arrears payment or advance payment. That's the difference between the $63,716.40 and the $60,228.79. So we're gonna do the advance payment, which is the first payment due at lease signing. That's what we're looking to do.
That's my understanding,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Looks good.
Can
Do we
that?
do we have the funds to just buy it outright and not do it over 5 years? And pay no interest? Or
Not have a
No?
balance.
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Can we have that added to the consent agenda for next week?
I like your thought because the interest is like throwing it in the trash basket. If we get to,
Yeah.
the goal would be to get to that point where we don't have to lease things like this. But
But
we're
I
not
realize
there
it's a
yet,
big
and
ticket. Yeah.
this will help us present a balanced budget or a budget with maybe a little surplus. If we didn't, we'd have a deficit.
Gotcha. That's fine.
Strange looking thing. I'm sorry, the second item I have is the RPF, or the proposal for professional engineering services for the lead service line replacement program from Robinson. It's kind of a lengthy document. This is for the lead service lines that need to be replaced. I forget what the time frame is. It's steadily creeping up. It's required by all municipalities, by all homeowners. And I know there was some discussion of were we talking the 50/50? I forgot what the program, what was
Well,
it called?
I mean, the big concern was that now when Public Works touches these lines, they can offer it to the resident that while we're touching it, do you want to do to your house? But that could be, I mean, what Joe had told me when you were off the one day was that that could be $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, and our residents, we can't expect that. So this is the program that we've been waiting for, so that these sewer lines could be replaced, and then we would have a forgivable loan so that we don't have to put that burden on the taxpayers
For the water lines,
for the lead service lines.
service lines.
So,
You
yeah.
keep saying sewers, it's the water line.
Yeah,
Lead service lines. All right.
Yes,
Which
sorry.
is water, yes.
Yes, well, which is the water, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, this to me is huge. We've talked a lot about this a number of times here at
It's
village
a
meetings.
lot of money for the
It's a
people
lot of
in the
money,
village.
and, I mean, I don't know, coming up with that kind of money. I think the one positive is we don't have a lot left in the village. I think we're in the lower end. I want to say, like, I thought Joe told me under 500 homes, if I'm correct, which would be,
I think a lot of that number was the
600,
was the unknowns too. I
Yeah.
think that's what that was.
So this will be great for the residents. They won't have to worry about coming up with that money, and they can get their lead service lines replaced.
This agreement is for the lump sum of $250,000 for the engineering from Robinson. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Is that paid through from this loan?
That's a good question.
Yeah, do we pay it upfront? Do we pay it monthly?
When
How?
it's just like the job's completed. This is for doing the job, replacing the, GIS, observing, the whole thing that, Robinson does as a matter of course, and designing the project, the whole thing. When the project is done, then they'll bill us.
Yeah, the specific language that was requested by the Illinois EPA states that the project, including engineering, legal, finance, and other related expenses, is $8 million.
Right,
And that's what the loan is. So,
right.
yes, it does. The answer is yes, it does.
The loan pays for this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I looked through this agreement and I don't see where it says what the Robinson dollar amount is. I see the last page where they have their list
It's
of,
on, it says payment, 250,000.
okay, I don't,
Payment terms,
what line?
number 4, page 2.
Oh, here it
Payment
is.
terms.
Okay, I see it. I'm sorry, I missed it 3 times. Okay, got it.
Just give a little reference, you're talking about the dollar amount for a homeowner. My old home, that sits deep in the lot, is obviously a much larger project, it could be over $10,000.
Yeah, it was substantial.
not
And
have
that's
a lead
just
line
the
there.
homeowner section, that's not even the villages section. But, I mean, that was huge. It's a lot of money for someone to come up with.
So I know that I was not at the meeting when you had discussed, Mayor, the signing the documents for the $8 million loan. So that $8 million is just covering the village's portion, right?
No, it's gonna
That's gonna
cover.
cover
Everything.
Oh, and the residences?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
cool.
And based on my conversations with James Huss and Engineer Huss and Superintendent Sperry, they do the directional boring from the street to your house, and the shut-off time is minimal, relatively minimal, because they just have to do the quick connects at the beginning and the end. So it's pretty interesting. Even if you're on the slab, they believe they can get that thing, the directional borer, up into the home. So
I
Pretty
can make
impressive.
arrangements to be on vacation when they're doing my house, so that's not a problem.
I do
Thank you,
not have a
trustee.
lead service.
Look,
If it keeps
Not a
me from
problem.
spending
I'll be out of the way.
$10,000, I'd be more than happy to wait a little longer.
yeah,
All
Yeah.
right, so what do we want to do?
We put that on the consent agenda for next meeting?
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. Did I go out of order? Oh, no, I
No.
didn't.
No, you're
Okay.
good.
8 windows up here.
Hydrant painting.
Yeah.
No, that's for the
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay. The village accepted bids for hydrant painting program for the village. On February 9th, the bids were read aloud, and Jetco Limited from Wakanda, Illinois, was the low bidder at $181,511. Robinson's opinion is they're a reputable company, and we shouldn't have to paint the hydrants for a considerable amount of time due to their higher quality standards. There's 569 hydrants in town. I mean, if you do the math, it's a little over $300 per hydrant. And they were the low bidder. Of course, the engineer's estimates was lower, but I mean, it is what it is.
Jack, the only question I had with this was, I know this was on Joe's ARPA list for, to be paid out of ARPA funds. The board has not approved the ARPA list yet.
Okay.
But I don't think anybody is opposed to it. We were just waiting to make sure that we were filing the reports properly and what we were doing. So it'll be on our agenda for Tuesday. But I'm fine moving forward because this was a small sum he had talked to us about, and it just hasn't gone to the board. If that's how he was still
Okay,
planning
you're
on-
saying next Tuesday it's,
Yeah, it's on,
okay.
it'll be
So
discussions, so we can, I mean.
if you approve it
as
or
long-
not,
I
we,
think everyone's fine with that, so we can approve this next week, but
okay.
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to let you know that it was on the ARPA list and we haven't
Right.
done that yet.
And his initial.
Unless he's paying, unless he's planning on paying for it.
No, he had it listed for for ARPA funds, so. Can we have that added to the consent agenda also then? And if there's any issue at Tuesday's meeting, we can pull it from the consent agenda, that's fine.
I don't think there'll be an issue.
Something that's been left out of the public discussion is, when's the last time we had the fire hydrants painted?
Not in my lifetime, no.
20 years?
Oh, more than that.
the one in the front yard next to mine, it's in rough shape. Do we know when the last time they were serviced and flushed? I don't
I-
even remember
doesn't
the
the-
last time
They
they,
try to do it once a year.
I was gonna say, I think that's a question for the fire department, because don't they do that?
well, the last time this question came up, there was a discussion as to whose responsibility it was, the fire department or public works, so I don't know. I don't remember the fire hydrant on my block getting flushed in the last couple of years.
If I remember correctly, it was going back to when we were having massive water loss. We were at up to 11% water loss, and we had to get Public Works involved to put the meter on every fire hydrant that was flushed, so we could track
That's right.
to say that it's not a leak, we were flushing the hydrant. So good question for Chief Hotwagner next week.
Okay. So it's the fire department that flushes them, not public works.
That's typically what's happening. Chicago hires a company that does it. Not everyone cares. I see them do it all the time downtown.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Cavey.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I want to discuss is not on the agenda, and I apologize, I sent an email late to everybody the other day. We are posting the position for building inspector 2, and so I'm going to make use of as many free advertisement locations as possible. I'd sent you an email that we had gotten from GovHR last year when we had hired them to help us with a search for the superintendent. And I had given you a list of proposed costs from various sources where we could advertise at. And the total for all of these was like $2,000. It would not be appropriate for us to use every single one of these. I talked to Steve Witt, the building superintendent. He recommended a couple of these that we could use, and they were like in the like $250 range. Also, I was going to put it on Indeed. I don't know how much that costs. I have no idea. Could be a couple $100, $500, I'm not really sure. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board, because I don't even know if we have a budget line item for this type of thing or for HR services. And I did reach out to Finance Director Redmond and asked her if our HR company could handle this. We did not sign up for that module. They could handle it for us, but it would be in the neighborhood of about $2,000. They quoted us an hourly rate for 20 hours, and it worked out to be about $2,000 plus advertising expenses. So I'm like, well, I could advertise these just as easily as they can. We already have the job description. They don't have to do any of that work. So I just wanted to bring it up to the board and let you know that there will be some expenses incurred. And again, I don't know, it's not budgeted. I never budgeted any funds for this, not anticipating we were going to be hiring anybody. So I just wanted to bring that up. Does anybody have any questions? So I will, as the expenses come, I will notify you, where I'm advertising and what the cost is going to be.
And then we'll put it on the website and all of that.
It's already on the website.
Can we?
And there are several, and I'm sorry, real quick, there are several avenues where we can advertise it for free as well. Karina, I believe, put it on the ICC website the other day. And Steve sent it to the two building official organizations that the village belongs to. So it is out there, but we just need to push it a little bit more.
Patch?
Yeah, I mean, if they have a job website, I'll reach out to the patch for sure. Not a problem. Okay, next item is,
Kathy, want to send it, and we'll put it in the newsletter as well.
oh, yeah,
I'd like to get it out locally as much as possible.
yeah.
Right.
The next one is, the next item that is on my agenda, number 1, is the OAI contract. On our board docs agenda, I have the old agreement from last year for reference and the new agreement that they sent us this year, and that was for the benefit of the attorney for his review. Essentially, the contract is staying the same. I attached a red line version for this year because we needed to make some corrections to some addresses, and we also added a couple of locations. So last year, during the season, Joe spoke to OAI and to their contractor, and they agreed to include the Natalie Creek inflow-outflow culverts from Costner to Karloff, or to Keystone rather, those four bridges. So they're gonna take care of those. They're gonna take care of and maintain the areas at 148th and Colmar and 149th and Kenton. And they are going to continue to take care of the Kilpatrick easement that's between 149th and 150th, and they'll also continue with the Prairie Garden. And this year, the services will include the addition of 600 plants along the Kilpatrick easement, the whole block. They're gonna backfill that easement with plants. So I shared this with OAI just to let them know that I had made some revisions to it, but I told her that it needed to go have, the board and our attorney review it, so.
On the signature line, down at the signature lines, can you put a 1 in front of the 4801 Pulaski?
Oh, yes. I'll make sure that gets corrected.
And this is at no cost to the village.
This is at no cost to the village. This is the same contract that we entered into with OAI last year. So this agreement is being signed by all three parties. It's being signed by OAI, it's being signed by the village, and it's being signed by, the vendor changed its name or merged or something. They're no longer Cardno. They're now called Stantec. All three entities are signing, but OAI is solely responsible for the payment to Stantec. So it just will not cost the village anything.
And this is behind the home, this will cover the behind the homes on Kilpatrick where the creek was.
Yes, that
Okay.
one block from 149th going south to 150th, that one block, they will get 600 plants
Okay.
in the easement.
Have you let them know this yet?
I sent them an email earlier today.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Skip.
Okay, so Attorney Valadez, if you could take a look at this and let me know if you don't have any issues or questions, then we will get a clean copy added to the agenda by next Monday.
Okay.
Okay. And last, I have included on the agenda a revised job description for the code enforcement officer. So initially, when Kathy was hired, she was a part-time code enforcement officer. Then she transitioned to full-time. And the plan this year was to upgrade her position to building inspector 2. And before we had a chance to do that, she is leaving us. Her last day is Friday. And so the superintendents had talked to me about updating her position to building inspector and then hiring a part-time code enforcer. The building department itself has a tremendous amount of work going on between building inspections and our rental inspections that it warrants, the superintendent feels that it warrants that we have 2 full-time inspectors and then hire a part-time code enforcement person to handle property maintenance items. So the job description that's on here is the code enforcement position slightly modified to eliminate some of the building inspector responsibilities that had originally been on there. So, does anybody have any questions? And the superintendent did include the hourly rate for this position in our budget for next year. So it is budgeted for.
Okay.
Any, no questions?
Nope.
Okay. Maria, if we could add this to we have to approve this next week, right? At a board meeting, we have to approve the position, so it can go on the consent agenda?
Can, if you're gonna get all the red out of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Maria, don't put this one on the consent agenda. I'll get you a clean copy.
Got some,
There's a lot
I
more-
thought I had, I apologize, I thought I had both on.
There's a
some-
lot more red than black.
No, there is not.
Yeah,
some-
yes, there is.
got some Visine?
Yes, there is.
And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, ma'am.
I reserve the right, just in case I remember something in a few minutes.
Trustee Killy.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this first item, I hope this is the last time I ever have to talk about this. There was a movie in the around 75 called, and a book called Jaws. This thing kept on coming out of the water to bite people, and now I'm talking about this thing called Jawa, which comes up and bites us all the time. But basically, Jawa was a group of towns that got together that thought they could work to get water from Indiana to us and save a lot of money. That didn't happen. A lot of things happened that were bad on this, and basically Jawa is defunct. Unfortunately, there was a study, a feasibility study that was done that the actually it was 6 towns had to pay for, and we have to pay for it too. We've been paying for it over the last 5 years, I believe, and we have 2 years left, and the finance department has recommended that we abate those bonds for the last 2 years of approximately $61,000 each year, and be done with this. And hopefully we never have to talk about this again. So I hope the Southland Water Agency does a heck of a lot better job than Jawa ever did, which isn't that hard, actually.
Which is a good segue. The Southland Water Agency is their own agency. We didn't become part of the agency. We just asked to be a user.
Right.
So we didn't get involved in all of this
Right.
Jawa nonsense. So
That's a good comment.
yeah.
So we'll, if we could have that on the agenda to approve the abatement of the bonds in the next meeting. Next, we talked about that the old Honda property was acquired by the South Suburban Land Bank. Trustee Cavaney and myself have been bugging them to market it, and Trustee Cavaney in the building department met with the broker, and they listed it. And a few days later, on a Sunday, we received an offer, the South Suburban Land Bank received an offer to purchase that property. This entity is making substantial investment for purchase price, and also they are going to rehab the property, new roof, a lot of things done on the inside. And then they are going to try to sell it to somebody that wants to put a business there. Make it purchaser ready. Also, we talked about it, the mayor, Trustee Cavaney, myself, and the land bank yesterday. And we put a couple of conditions on there. One condition, which was a good suggestion by Trustee Cavaney, was to make sure the Honda logos on the building and the big Honda sign was eliminated by the time, as part of this agreement. And so it looks like it's a go. The Midlothian approved the sales of the property to this entity, and they're drawing up the sales contract with a couple of conditions like we talked about, and it should be a go, and hopefully within about 6 months, the building will be rehabbed and it can be repurposed for a going business in Midlothian.
Yep.
Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Natalie Creek Steering Committee was supposed to meet today. The purpose of that meeting was to review the RFQs for an engineer for Phase 2 of Natalie Creek, which was to do the engineering for the Natalie Creek Trail. we received one submission for that, and it was thought it was better to not do the QBS process at this point, to talk about it at the April 20th meeting and see what the steering committee wants to do. There is a substantial gap in funding. We have $900,000 grant from ITEP, but our communications have been that we need a substantial amount more than that to do the engineering. So we have to talk about all this and find out what's going on.
Do you have an estimate for the engineering?
No. I think April 20th, we will have the estimate for what Farnsworth thinks the engineering will cost. It was sort of surprising to me that the two engineers who are doing this now did not submit a bid. But the bottom line is there's a lot of projects that are fueled by ARPA funds, federal funds right now. There's a lot more projects than there are engineers. And that's just about the bottom line. But I had this conversation after the last meeting with Ken Chastain from Farnsworth, and he said they have a lot of projects that they're losing, some of their engineers have left. Trying to hire new engineers is very difficult. That's just the bottom line. So we have to figure out where we're going with this. Also into the mixes, Trustee Caveney suggested having an H&H study for Belly Button Hill. And we'd like to have that done and have this done so we don't delay the H&H study from Belly Button Hill. But we'll have to figure that out too, where we're going with that.
I do have a question.
What does H&H stand for, Don?
I don't know.
Hydraulics and
Hydrology
Yeah.
and hydraulics or something?
Yeah, hydraulics and hydrology, right.
Flooding.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that, well, of course, I don't know how much engineering costs, but I recall that when the village received that ITEP grant, that the engineering to engineer the path was going to be in that ballpark.
Right.
Because if you recall, last summer or last spring, when Farnsworth hosted a Natalie Creek Trail meeting at the Park District, they had boards of where the trail was going to go, and a lot of the trail is it's on the street or on a sidewalk. There's not a lot of off-road trail that has to be engineered, so I'm kind of surprised that it's going to cost more than $900,000 to engineer.
A substantial amount more.
But to engineer a path that's 50% of it, approximately 50% of it, is already existing. They don't have to engineer it.
Well, I don't know what the engineering entails. That's out of my pay grade. So,
Okay.
the bottom line is that will
Let
be
Mr.
part of
Chastain
that'll be
know,
part of the
but I'm
discussion.
interested to know.
That's
We all are.
part of the discussion
Yeah.
is it that much more? Rates have gone up that much? Because they're not doing any more work. That was part of the
Yeah.
900,000 grant.
Right.
But I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll have to nail that down and find out what the future holds here. Okay. Last, budget. Budget is in process and is its final process. And it will be reviewed March 21st by the Finance Committee. It will be on the agenda for discussion April 19th and approved April 26th. After the finance meeting, it will be posted on the village website for at least 30 days as required by law. So if you want to look at the budget and have your eyes blur over, you can. All the line items are there, and we welcome any questions from the public, from the residents about that. But this will be, I think, from what I remember, the first time I can remember that the budget will be approved before the start of the fiscal year. So there's a lot of good work here. The finance department, Yvonne and Maggie have done a great job. The board members, I think, really hit it and really did a great job for their department. Department heads and their staff, and I'd like to also thank my partner here, trustee Crowley, because it took,
We did-
it really takes two of us to
Really
nail
does.
down the budget and get it done
It's a lot of work.
on time. So I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, but I think this process has gone very well. And again, it will be posted no later than March 26th on the website. So thank you to everyone.
And I concur. Thank every one of you for everything you've done to finally make my dream come true, potentially, of having it passed before the fiscal
Don't
year
jinx it.
starts.
Don't jinx it. I just want to reiterate, trustee Redmond and treasurer Britton.
Trustee,
Oh, treasurer Britton, finance director Redmond. They've done an outstanding job. Like, they really,
I
I
concur.
mean, there was a lot of work smushed into a little bit of time. And I think this year, I think all the trustees, I think the board, I think everybody has a better understanding. I think we put forth a better process. So I'm hoping this is the norm, that going forward, we'll be able to pass it before the end of every fiscal year.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else, trustee?
no, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple things. First on my agenda is discussion of the TIF for the library. A few months ago, the library had contacted the village and asked if we would consider helping them out with some TIF funds to do some redevelopment of library property. I know the board and Mayor LaRue has, in addition to developing new businesses, we want to make sure that we help out our other taxing bodies to make sure that their properties are able to be kept up in that. So I did send an email to everybody yesterday about what they're asking for. So if anybody has any questions, we really wouldn't be paying anything or that until after the work is done. I have Attorney Orr, who's our TIF attorney, creating a agreement between us and the Park District, or between us and the library. I'll pass that out to the board and village attorney to review, and we'll discuss it again at another village meeting. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was taking a look at that and getting me any questions or comments that they had. On Monday, we had our first annual liquor license meeting. The police department sent an invite to all of the individuals who hold a liquor license in the village. That is up for renewal next month. It was about a 30-minute meeting. Deputy Chief Tavermina did a great job. A lot of good questions, a lot of good information. It's just part of what we're doing with our liquor license ordinance to make sure that we're meeting regularly with people who hold liquor licenses, and we're allowing them to prosper and make sure that we're keeping the community safe under this new ordinance. So thank you to everybody who participated. Next, I wanted to just kind of give a grant update. I told the board I would keep you apprised of what we were doing. We did pass the grant writer, to hire a grant writer a month and a half ago. As of right now, I believe we have 5 grants that they are looking into and working on. I think the process has gone pretty smooth. There's 3 or 4 for the police department, and the fire department has added a couple as well. I know there's going to be a couple more coming down that we want to review, but again, these are things that we can do to generate revenue and keep our expenses down. So I will keep everybody updated as we get closer and we get definitive information about that. But they're very responsive, and they seem to work very well with our department heads so far. On a cleanup note, I have to mention Trustee Burbat. For a number of years, I know since I've been on the board, we've been looking to clean up our server room and get all of the switching redone and wires. If anybody who's ever been in there has seen it, I'm not even sure how I could describe it. And I was very pleasantly surprised to walk in there today to a meticulously cleaned, well-organized server room. So Trustee Burbat, thank you for taking the time out and doing that, and I really appreciate it. Then I would also like to thank Vincent Harleston. Sorry, Vincent, I know you're here today. Sorry for calling you out, but yesterday we met to try to create an Instagram page for the Community Policing and Safety Committee, and Vincent was amazing. So he was a great help. So thank you very much. We really appreciate all your help. And that's my segue into, please join our Instagram page. Like us
We
on
have
Insta.
Instagram?
Well, on
Do
the
you know
CP
how to use it?
Sure. I don't have to know how to use it. I just have to have somebody who knows how to use it, right?
I have a question.
And we have that.
I have a question. What's Instagram?
Thank you, Mara. That was going to
That
be my
might be
next
something
question.
I need you to do in a few weeks. Come up and give a speak about it. But yes, it was a very pleasant experience, and thank you, Di, for bringing that up. That was great. Our committee is really moving forward with technology, and if anybody's been paying attention to the Community Policing and Safety page, we are now posting safety tips in connection with the police department. So we're doing that weekly or bi-weekly as much as we can get them out there. And I think it starts this week, right? Yeah. This week, this week. So thank you to everybody on the CPC committee, CPSC, I'm never gonna get it right. And thank you again, Vincent, because without you, we would have never got through last night.
Yes, you were very patient.
The new police station, I'm being told that it's definitely on the horizon, so we will be getting out invitations to the grand opening. Chief Delaney has made it clear that this will be the first and last time he builds anything. So thank you, Chief, because I know how hard you worked on this, and we really appreciate all you've done. And I've been in it, and it is absolutely beautiful, within budget, and ahead of schedule. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. And last but not least, I have to say happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. So everybody's Irish on the 17th, so that's all I have this evening.
Are you going to give a special dispensation to eat corned beef on Friday, too?
I cannot do that. However, I'm thinking that maybe we could reach out to St. Chris and have that done. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, I do have one more thing that I forgot to bring up. Excuse me. One more thing to add. Our Midlothian Public Library is starting a new fun program on or about April 1st. They are going to be starting a seed catalog, a seed sharing catalog. So, you know how we have like the little free libraries where you can take a book, leave a book? Well, the library is going to start that with seeds, flower seeds and vegetable seeds. Folks have already donated some seeds, and they don't have to be homegrown seeds. I mean, they've got a bunch of like prepackaged seeds that they've acquired from different stores when they've been on sale. And you know, those seed packets have a whole bunch of seeds. So what we're going to be doing, and they're looking for volunteers, so you can contact the library if you have a little bit of time to do this. We're going to be repackaging the seeds into envelopes that will be marked, and it'll be marked with what type of seed it is, if it needs to be grown in shade or sun, or you know what the growing requirements are. And they have a really cool old antique, the old-fashioned card catalog that a few of us used when we were children growing up. And they're going to use that card catalog to put the seeds in. And the librarian who's working on it is putting together a whole packet of information, and she's putting together instructions and that type of thing. So Jean and I have been participating with the library folks. They, you know, asked us to come to their meetings and help them sort out the I can't think of the word, the process for doing this. So.
Will one of you be volunteering to come over to our homes and plant them and come over and water them and
No.
make sure they grow? So we don't ruin them? Because we all know that I cannot grow anything.
Well, you're a special case. Maybe we'll get help for you.
I'm looking for cucumber, green beans, and okra. They got those?
Cucumbers maybe and green beans. I don't remember seeing any packets of okra. We'll see. So, but at any rate, they do have a bunch of seeds already, seed packets, but they need to be sorted out. So if anybody has any time on their hands, please contact the library and make arrangements to go over there and spend some time helping them sort seeds. I know Gina and I will probably be there next week, a couple of days sorting away. So anyhow.
Well, feel free to come over and plant whatever you two would like to plant. You guys know where I live, just help yourselves.
Got it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Attorney Valdez, you're still on MySpace, aren't you? Oh, sorry.
What is MySpace?
No. Okay. There are two bills that passed the legislature. One is House Bill 208, which provides for paid leave for all employees in the state of Illinois. I will not comment on the impact it will have upon us, except to say that we are included as a public corporation. I will do research as to what the impact of this will be, given the situation with our labor unions having collective bargaining agreements and interweaving that with the requirement of 40 paid leave hours in a 20-month period. That would make Illinois one of 3 states in the union that provides that leave. This bill does not go into effect until January 1st, 2024, so we have a little time to figure out what the legislature actually meant when they passed this bill.
I find it very hard to believe that it will be given to the unions.
There's supposedly, and again, I don't want to speak into
Being a union member myself.
that the bargaining agreements are excluded from.
Of course they are.
Because they get their own negotiated paid leave. But again, I don't want to comment until we've had some clarification from the legislature as to what it means in terms of both our bargaining unit members and our non-union employees.
Nick, can you keep our HR company
Absolutely,
on
yes,
that, please?
yes. And the second item, which I will also keep our HR staff informed about, is the new Family Bereavement Leave Act, which went into effect on January 1st, which guarantees unpaid leave for as much as 10 days for grievance of the death of a covered family member and to be absent from work due to a variety of family-related events, including miscarriage, unsuccessful intrauterine insemination, failed adoption or surrogacy, diagnosis that negatively impacts pregnancy or fertility, and stillbirth. Under the FBLA, employees may, but are not required, to request reasonable documentation certifying a qualifying event. Recently, the Illinois Department of Labor published its promised documentation form, which certainly would give a safe harbor to the village in terms of if we require it and adhere to it in determining this bereavement, we should be okay with the Illinois Department of Labor. So
I actually think there's they circulated a policy already.
Yes, but I'm talking about the form, the
Okay.
form. Yeah,
Okay.
we won't have to write our own form.
Okay.
We'll just use the one they give us and say, fill that out, and then scrutinize it with regard to,
Okay.
whether we issue the leave. So those are the two items that,
Does that also exclude labor unions?
no, well, I'll have to find out. I'll have to find out. But, so, that's what we have going forward. Certainly, the Paid Leave Act could be considered an unfunded mandate, but the Labor Family Bereavement Leave Act is not. It costs us in terms of having to give the time away, but we don't have to pay the employees for that leave. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. I don't really have anything other than, again, wish everyone a very happy St. Patrick's Day and remind everyone to please show up at our Midlothian Historical Society this Saturday from 11 to 2 for the village's 96th birthday, and we'll sing a nice, warm rendition of Happy Birthday to the village that day. That's all I have. Quick mouth. Thank you, sir. Oh, should have nudged me.
That's all right.
All right. Seeing there's no further business coming for the board, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Great work, as usual.